Welcome to the Tiger Interview Series.
In this episode, we have a special drop-in from the president and owner of the Tigers. I wanted to obviously talk baseball, but I also wanted to get updates on the club and allow you all to see where the progress is going in the organization. Before we start, I wanted to remind you that members of the club can access great deals on new Rawlings gear on the VIP site, where right now I'm looking at a sweet Francisco Lindor game day pattern Rawlings Pro Preferred. It looks awesome. Go ahead, log in, and access those deals right now. Thanks, guys, and I hope you enjoy the conversation. Welcome, everybody, back to another edition of the Tiger Interview Series. On this episode, I have Aaron Jaworowski, the owner, operator, and president of the Rawlings Tigers Baseball and Softball Club.
How you guys doing?
I'm a little nervous on this podcast because it's one of those things I came up with the idea. I was like, I want to do like an update on the program.
Yeah, I have no idea what this is about.
Neither do I. We have no idea where this conversation is going.
He
but
said, Jaws, can I steal you for a minute? We're going to do an interview. I said, let's go.
But one of the things that I want to do is I really want to get your voice out there and give an update on the Tigers, because one, I feel like when people know who's behind the brand and behind the organization, I think it really helps with understanding what the goals and the mission are. So that's why I want you on the podcast on this episode.
Cool.
And we have a lot of things that are happening in the hopper that is very intriguing. So we have the national team program. We just hired Evan Pratt. We the facility here is rocking, which is awesome. A lot of instructors. We brought on Rafael Lopez, who is a major league catcher, helping with Trent Limecooler on the catching side. But more importantly, we have a lot of directors that are just starting out in their territories and really trying to build their own programs in their areas. So give us a little update on like how you view everything going on right now and what your goals are moving forward with all this stuff that's happening.
Sure. No, I mean, it's rocking. Like, it is like big time busy, I think, for all of us. And we feel it in the office where we got a lot of different balls in the air that we're keeping up and moving forward. You touched on some of them. I know we're super excited for Evan Pratt. He's our high school director, and he's going to run our entire St. Louis program, but he's already been a great asset to our regional teams in the recruiting process. He's done virtual meeting WebExes with them and high school rosters one at a time for those that want it and need it. So he'll be a great resource for our high school kids in the college process. And he jumped right in June 1st and took over fall ball, a lot of the summer management here in the St. Louis area, and then the recruiting side nationally. And then to the next category would be the national team events.
Which he's helping run that program as well.
Yes.
And if you guys are really interested in like what Evan more like, if you want like a preliminary conversation before, if you are Tigers and you want to have like talk with him, whether you're in St. Louis or outside of St. Louis, listen to the Tiger Interview Series with Coach Pratt, and then also listen to the closing pitch with him as well. We go over a lot of details on the recruiting side, but if you want to have a candid conversation with him, he is open to doing Zoom calls with our Tiger teams.
Oh, he's done a ton of them in the first 2 months. He has done a ton of them. He's got more set up for this month. St. Louis family Zoom calls for teams all over our Tiger country that he's there for them just as much as the kids here in our town. So he's a fantastic resource.
And explain our national team program, because it's it's unique. It's very unique compared to what the market thinks of national teams right now.
Yep.
Because give you guys some headway. National teams, basically there's a group of people that handpick players across the country. They'll either DM them on Instagram, get their email, or get their phone numbers, and literally just start contacting these people, and they haven't been a part of their organization, and then they just get a super team and go into these events. We put a little bit of a wrinkle into it because we think that it needs to be more on the Tigers side. So go ahead and explain the setup.
It is. It's very different. I'm not saying one is right or wrong. It's just a different philosophy. I think ours is compared to the other ones, and it fits what we're trying to do in our vision with our club. So our national team program is for Tigers only that are registered in good standing within our organization on a year-round, summer, fall roster, whatever, with the Tiger in any city around the country in our club. So, for example, we're doing the WWBA PG in Fort Myers. It's for 23s and 24s, September 30th. That's our next event. We just launched the marketing side of it yesterday, and any Tiger in those two classes can apply to have a spot on that team. So I believe there's around 40 or 50 rosters at that age group, those two age groups that are going to have a chance to apply. So you're talking 500-600 kids. Mm-hmm. And now they're not all going to apply. There's two sport athletes. Some play football, soccer. Some may not want to go. Some may shut it down for the fall. That's totally fine. So let's say we get 100 of those kids to apply, just throwing a number out there. Out of those 100, we'll select the top 12 positional players we can, plus additional pitcher-onlys. And then that's the team that'll go compete in that event. So if we do another event 2 months later, let's say we do a winter one out in Vegas or California, Arizona, it may not be the same exact kids, even though it's the same age group with us. And so
I really like that idea because it gives more opportunities.
Yes.
In case like someone didn't have a really good showing on their video or they got new metrics, it keeps it's your ability that the short term, what can you do now to be able to make that team? Correct.
Yep. And it gives those top end kids in our club a platform to play in those big events. And then the other part of our national team and the model and track we're on right now is to keep the summer rosters intact, let them play with their teams. I think the whole team concept is very important in training them year round. And then if they're the top end elite level player, then they can make the national team and then the off season events.
I think that's extremely important from a culture standpoint and a development standpoint. I feel like when if you're team hopping or team playing, you never get that whole team atmosphere.
Yep.
Where you are literally hand-in-hand combat with your guys and trying to figure out how to actually win. Or if you go into like a super team, again, right or wrong, this is just how I think about it, is that, yeah, you're getting a lot of experience. You're playing with a whole bunch of good players, mm-hmm. but at the same time, you don't get that cohesiveness and understanding how to win in hard times. Because it's extremely difficult to do that when you have multiple players from multiple different locations and you're doing that for the full season. It's just really hard to do that.
Yeah. I think you lose that development side too if you're just popping in and out every weekend, because there's a lot, at least with our club, that goes on in midweek practices and that team culture and the bonding and that part of it. How do you compete? How do you go out and try to win as a team and a group? And you need all those different parts in order to win that game.
Intangibles are huge.
Yep.
I think that's probably the most underrated asset that a player can have, especially when you get to the college game. I mean, like that grinder that was able to push everyone forward.
Yep. You need those guys.
Yeah. You might hate them during practice because they're pushing you forward, but then you love them in the games.
Yeah. Right. He's on your team.
Yes. So great. Evan Pratt, national program.
We also got our national conference coming up September 14th and 15th. We pushed it off last year a little bit, actually kind of delayed it now because of COVID. Typically we do that in the winter, early spring, like February or March. This is the third one we've hosted, and it's going to be in September. So we have all our regional directors who own and operate the Tigers in their city coming into St. Louis for a 2-day event. So there'll be some fun stuff involved. I know we're doing a ballpark tour at Busch Stadium. We're doing a meet and greet social hour with Rawlings that evening. Next day is more of a networking and training day. Doing that at a nice golf course here in town in St. Louis.
There's a couple guest speakers that are coming in. We have the head of marketing for Rawlings. He's going, one of the heads.
Mark Kramer.
Rawlings is just a big company, so it's hard to know who's like the top of the top.
Yep.
But yeah, we have Mark Kramer coming in. Really good mindset on just the industry and helping those guys out from just an industry standpoint, like what's happening, and then also how the Rawlings brand plays inside of their club and their location. And then we also have Dan B coming in talking about uniforms, which everyone loves talking about gear. And then I'm sure he's going to talk about the Rev 1, which is the new glove that Rawlings just launched on All-Star Weekend. And then we also have Grayling Tobias, who is now the youth, I forget his title. Please help me.
Director of Youth Baseball Operations.
That's a mouthful. But again,
awesome.
But it does explain exactly what he does, which he's going to be helping with the St. Louis youth teams. But he is also going to be doing some national team stuff. Have we talked about that yet?
Not as much with Grayling. He may get involved with coaching the team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
For certain events.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But he's going to be coming in and helping with the directors. He's going to talk about a very important topic, the relationship between parents, players, and the club, and then also the game. So that's going to be a very fun conversation. Hopefully we can report on that. I would actually love to have Grayling on the podcast, but like he said yesterday, I am a thinker. I got to think things through before I actually jump completely in.
He's like the team whisperer.
Yes, he is.
Like,
and
he calms everything down for parents, kids, players. He is so good at that. Just the culture part of it, and how to handle parents and situations, or how to handle players in situations, how to get the most out of the kids. He's an incredible person, so we're lucky to have him.
And I'm like the opposite. I have a sword and a horse, and like, let's go attack that hill. So me and him balance each other out really well in conversations. So I'm hoping to have that. Is there anything else you want to address on the Tigers standpoint, from an update on what we're seeing in the organization? I know from the Tiger interview series, I'm trying to bring on a lot of experts and stuff like that, but I thought this would be a nice little wrinkle.
No, I think the podcast
episode
you guys are doing is really picking up momentum, right, with us and our families, getting a ton of good feedback on that. We spent a lot of time, I would say, third, fourth quarter last year, first, second quarter 2021 on the VIP section. Credit Spiker, and I think Shan had a lot of the back end ideas with that. But
and don't forget Stelly.
Can't forget Andrew, who's the coder, and it's just everything we have in our program is in that VIP section for our users, and there's a ton of things that are connecting the club from different cities together and building that culture as a group. So
yeah, if you guys haven't checked out the VIP, if you're a Tiger, please go in there, check it out. Andrew spent an enormous amount of time. The staff has spent an enormous amount of time of thinking how we want to lay everything out. It is it's a growth project. It's one of those projects that is constantly evolving in how we rethink and reevaluate constantly on what we want that VIP section to look like, feel like, and obviously do for players, parents, and coaches. So,
yep. Good stuff.
Well, I appreciate you coming on to the podcast and giving us a little bit of an update. Guys, please subscribe to the show, Tiger Interview Series, on Apple Podcast and Spotify. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rawlings Tigers. That's where we put this show. And then we also have another podcast, The Closing Pitch. If you're not familiar, if you're a new listener to the Rawlings Tigers Interview Series, we also have another podcast called The Closing Pitch. That's with David Birkby, who is the general manager of the Rawlings Tigers, and myself. We talk about people, culture, and how to create a winning lifestyle. It's really how I view it. It's more of a journal and a diary, and we're trying to figure out what is the best strategies and tactics on creating that winning lifestyle. So thanks, guys. We really appreciate you listening to this episode. If you're watching it, thank you. And we will see you in the next episode.